Can I show you my fancy bag of phones?
Yes.
I think I've got some good stuff for us. All Nokias.
Good.
I want to celebrate the Finnish pride. I've got some classics here.
That
These
looks
are the-
familiar.
Yeah, we got a few of these. And then I thought you might like this one. This is like
Maybe if you could.
Frisbee style?
Grip.
Yeah. Do you want to go sort of, almost underarm like that, or this is just pure overarm?
I don't know. I think I will go overarm because I'm used to that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you embarrassing me. All right, here goes nothing. Oh, holy shit.
Little glide.
Yeah. Whoa.
It is said, not by me, but by their Nordic neighbors, that Finnish people are weirdos.
Oh.
Their language is basically Elvish.
Joo, kyllä varmaan. Mitä te teette? Juoksette?
They're aloof and do not engage with strangers or conduct small talk. Their hobbies include competitions such as wife carrying, air guitar playing, and obviously cell phone throwing.
Whoa.
And yet, here I am on a cool Helsinki morning, hanging out with Finland's future Olympic javelin thrower, Lassi Etelätalo.
All right, you pick.
I like this one because I had also one when I was younger.
All I had to do to make this happen was slide right into his DMs and promise to bring some old Nokias. It turns out that the Finns are in fact very hospitable, and that their cell phones are sturdy.
Oh, I think that one broke.
Until they are not. Is there a metaphor in all this? Something bigger being said about Finland's nosedive into a technology apocalypse and subsequent rise as a vibrant, inventive force in the technology industry? I'm not sure, but I'm gonna go with yes and try to prove it to you with what comes next.
One more throw.
Whoa. We all know the idea of a company town, but here in Finland something really unusual happened. It became more of a company nation. During the early to mid-2000s, Finland's economy boomed, driven almost entirely by Nokia. In its heyday, Nokia accounted for 40% of all mobile phones sold and 1 out of every 2 smartphones sold. Then, in 2007, something terrible happened to Finland. Apple released the iPhone. I've come here to Helsinki to find out what happened in the aftermath of Nokia's decline and what startups have risen to take its place.
For starters, I'll need a primer on the decline and fall of Nokia. And as luck would have it, this long-haired gentleman, David Cord, wrote a book by that very title. He also happens to be an American, but nobody's perfect.
When I was researching this episode or just telling people what we were going to do, especially some of the younger people they're like, was Nokia that big of a deal? Because I remember them being, the kings of the mobile industry.
Well, Nokia was huge in Finland. They were integrated in everything in the Finnish culture. Finns were very proud of what Nokia did. It was our success. It was Finland's success.
Nokia started way back in 1865 as a paper products company. Plush toilet paper was its first hit. It got into boots, tires, cables, all kinds of stuff. And then began making cell phones. First for this cool guy in the 60s, and then for all of us.
Can you hear me now? The new iPhone is cool and all.
Life was grand for Nokia, and for Finland. From these glorious headquarters by the Baltic, Nokia poured money into the Finnish social system. And then this raging capitalist named Steve Jobs came along and ruined everything.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is.
The iPhone was crazy, right? Because I remember in this ridiculously quick period of time, it's not like the company was wiped off the face of the earth, but it just lost the phone industry.
When Nokia started to stumble and started to fail, many people took that very personally. It was a Finnish failure. There were thousands of people who were unemployed, the factory workers, the software developers.
In its moment of greatest desperation, Nokia's phone division suffered that greatest of dishonors, getting sold to Microsoft.
Yeah, it was tough. There's a town called Nokia in Finland, which actually the company was named for. And the day the announcement broke, a vandal went and changed the town sign to Microsoft.
Okay.
People were upset that, we used to be on the top of the world, and now it's all gone.
Nokia, of course, still exists and makes things, namely telecommunications and data infrastructure gear. But where the company used to employ 35,000 people in Finland, it now only employs 3,500.
Gonna pour one out for the Nokes.
After Nokia, everyone was always talking about what's the next Nokia? What is the next big company that will be able to go international and to have such a big impact on Finland? And many people at the time thought maybe it was Rovio.
Rovio created Angry Birds, one of the first gaming mega hits of the iPhone age. But while they had a few hot years, it soon became clear that Nokia-level success was not in the cards.
Eventually we came to decide that's not going to happen again. We need to be more diverse. Instead of having one gigantic company, we need to have 10 good, profitable, mid-sized companies.
The Birds may not have replaced the Nokes, but they did kick off a gaming boom in Finland, one that came to be dominated by Supercell, the maker of all your favorite games and the master of your time. Supercell has only 300 or so employees, but it raked in about $1.6 billion last year. 100 million people played its games every day, some of them spending thousands of dollars to upgrade their compounds and farms. And all of this winning happens in a strictly shoes-off workplace, a common trope among Finnish startups that Supercell claims to have invented. Ilkka here, the CEO, is beloved by his countrymen for creating Finland's biggest post-Nokia success story. I'm here to find out how he did it and hopefully score some free upgrades in Clash of Clans. For my kids.
When you guys started Supercell, what were you trying to do maybe in the gaming industry that was different?
It seemed to us that most games companies were organized very like in a very traditional way. I mean, basically they had this hierarchy, and the underlying assumption is that the leadership knows best what to do. But in games business, I feel that it actually is the game developers who are obviously they are closest to the games. They know best what type of games the company should do. So therefore we had this idea that what if you would flip this traditional model, the game developers would own the vision of what type of games they would do.
The strategy has made Supercell one of the most coveted places for game developers to land a job. Like Seth here, a game engineer on Clash Royale who moved all the way from San Francisco.
I'd always been aware of Supercell, and I'd always kind of looked up to them as an ideal place to work on mobile games.
Do you think you're going to stay here for a long time?
I bought a flat this week. That's real. Put that on camera.
Other Supercell imports like Bryce, who hails from France, bring new characters to life with their fancy pens. They fight among each other to get their characters onto the most prized real estate, the game startup screen.
The loading screen, is that that's the prize, that's the best spot to be?
The masterpiece.
Of course, there's just one problem with putting the creatives in charge: crazy-ass perfectionism.
The way this philosophy is translated is that you guys are very careful about what you actually release and that you cancel games all the time. How many have you killed over the last 9 years? Is it dozens or?
It's probably dozens.
I think there's some story that you're on a plane and in the time that you're flying across, some game that you were pretty happy about got whacked.
Yeah, it was actually one of my favorite games we've ever done. I used to play it a lot, for example, with my kids, and I really loved that game. And then I just heard that the team had got together, I guess in a typical Finnish way, in a sauna, and then they had a show of hands that who believes that this is the best game that we can make. And I don't think that many hands went up, and then they decided, well, if that's the case, then we should just kill it.
How did you explain that to your kids?
Oh, it's a stuff.
Were they like, come on, Dad, you run this thing?
But that's me. Sometimes I call myself like the least powerful CEO. My goal is that teams make, most, if not all of the decisions, which of course means that I make very little or no decisions.
I won't say that Supercell's games are exactly good for you, but I will say that these fine people seem to be having a good time making them and bringing ungodly piles of cash to their homeland in the process.
And you're telling me you cannot get my son jewels?
Now, go outside and play. To see what's next for the Finnish tech scene, I scooted right into a former hospital, which has been turned into a startup incubator called Maria 01. This place has it all. Gurneys, more gurneys, tunnels full of startup refuse, wheelchairs hanging from the ceiling, and a cemetery right outside where venture capital goes to die.
This hospital was founded in 1890s, and then we took over 2016. So currently we serve over 130 startup companies. It's the largest startup campus in the Nordics.
The startups here make all types of things, from games to corporate software. But the freshest startup in Maria 01 is certainly Nava, which produces a high-tech version of a green wall. I'm told this is like breathing in 1,000 trees at once.
All around the world, we see these plant walls, but this was the first one I've ever run into that had a lot of built-in technology into it as well.
Yeah. So instead of a plant being just a decorative part of that, we have removed altogether the soil from the system. Almost all of the air purification in plants happens in the root zone microbes, not in the leaves as people think.
Okay.
And if a plant is growing in soil, the air is not touching the microbes. We got rid of the soil from the system, and then on top of the product there are fans. So it biofiltrates the air 24/7 in your room, and this makes the air purification of plants efficiency over 100 times more efficient.
And we're talking about you've sold like hundreds, thousands? Or...
Yeah, so Nava is the biggest green wall company in the world. We have about 3,000 units in our customers' place right now. Our kind of bigger vision is how can we help 1 billion people to enjoy nature and breathe forest-grade air in the built environment every day.
Now that we've learned that the shock paddles have been applied and Finland's tech scene has come back to life, I would like to show you just how much better Finns are as humans than the rest of us. It's the annual eating of the herring in Finland. For 1 week in October, people come here to downtown Helsinki to gorge on the freshest of fish and other delicious smoky treats. They jockey for position, prepare Instagram posts, and enjoy some Tolkien-inspired folk. As you may have heard, life is good for the Finns. Their kids are smarter than yours. Their health system is healthier than yours. And my God, their parks are parkier than yours. These Finns also eat really well.
On a square plate, there's some mold-fed, lightly smoked pork and wild garlic emulsion on top. On a round plate, beetroot marshmallow.
Here I am at your run-of-the-mill fast casual joint, popping some bubbly and gobbling up a ham and cheese roll, followed by a NASA-inspired marshmallow made out of beets.
That is good. That's crazy.
But the future of food for Finland and the rest of the world may be here. where protein is grown in a vat overseen by the Finnish version of Walter White. This is Solar Foods, with its headquarters in Espoo, on the outskirts of Helsinki.
We make food out of thin air, using just electricity, water, CO2 and some minerals as the main ingredients.
Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Is there anything else we should know that happens in here?
No, this is pretty legal.
Okay.
Until the pivot to full-blown meth lab is needed, Solar Foods is focusing on making protein and other nutrients with as little water and other resources as possible. No cows, no soy fields, just bacteria being fed in a tub by nature and harvested by lab coat-wearing laborers.
In essence, what we are making is an ingredient for different food products. So tofu, yogurts, breakfast bars, or any meal that one could think of.
Solar Foods grabs CO2 from the fresh Finnish air and hydrogen produced via solar panels and uses this fuel to feed a microorganism discovered by scientists in Finnish soil. The bacteria is then fed a cocktail of water and a secret blend of elements such as iron, sulfur, and calcium. This slurry of goodness is then dried to produce a powder that's 65% protein with a few fatty acids and carbs making up the rest.
This is the end product, this yellowish powder.
Protein powder. And then this is just the liquid form of that. And how long does the drying process take?
It takes about a day to dry 1 kilo.
Solar Foods calls this stuff Solane powder. Is it vetted by the FDA yet? No. Is it safe for consumption? I'm told yes. And since I'm the guinea pig for a technology show, my gut is your gut.
This is my personal vegan pancake recipe.
It's like the regular ingredients for pancakes pretty much,
except we're replacing eggs with Solane powder.
That's the magic moment. All right, here goes our batter. Oh yeah, you're a pro.
Do you want to try it first?
I'll try it. This is like the pancake of the future. I've never eaten pancakes grown in a laboratory before, though, so. It's a delicious pancake.
Those dudes may cook a mean protein powder. But the true star of the Finnish healthier food movement is this woman, Maija Itkonen, the co-founder and CEO of Golden Green. Golden Green makes a vegetable-based meat replacement called pulled oats. Everyone I met in Finland eats it. It's in the grocery stores in a variety of flavors, and you can even get it at Taco Bell, inside the vegan burrito. It's a thing, a brown, chunky thing. Maija and I met in a former Nokia cable factory. Where else? To try out some pulled oats.
You're not trying to mimic meat necessarily at all, right? You're just trying to make something that's sort of delicious that's made from oats.
That's exactly true. And it might be that the final application is mimicking, because when you make a burger, it needs to be something that feels like a burger. But what actually doesn't mimic is the ingredient list. The ingredient list, we actually want to make sure that you have few things and they're really healthy and really clean label, and everything's based on that.
What are the big advantages of oats? I guess it's not meat, why oats? Yeah.
It's nutritionally, it's like marvelous. It has so good health benefits for your heart health and digestion and blood sugar, and it's like medicine, Okay.
Thank you. Thanks so much. It's like a curry. It's delicious. I would eat this any day of the week.
So when we got started, we didn't even plan to sell in Finland.
This was like 2 years ago, or?
This was 2016. But we thought, let's just aim to test it in a couple of grocery stores. Then it was so funny because what happened was that people got entirely crazy. all the newspapers started to call us, and all the buyers started to call us. So it was like, okay, we are going to sell this in Finland, you know. And actually, the market grew like 700% during that year.
Unlike just about every other company in Finland, Golden Green's headquarters are not in a former Nokia building. They're in a former bra factory. And its elevator is real and spectacular. This is where pulled oats come to life.
So these are the basic ingredients.
Yeah, so actually this is oat flour. Then we have a faba bean flour. Then we also have a yellow pea protein. But that's about it.
Okay. And then the magic, the secret is how you blend this all together.
Absolutely, yes. So we first make like a dry material based of these ingredients.
Okay.
Then we start moisturizing and baking it, and it becomes something like this.
Like this, okay. So this,
You can
so all
taste
this
it,
stuff,
yes, absolutely.
this goes through like a machine, and the machine and the process, that's all
top secret.
Top secret. Nobody gets to see that.
But I am allowed to see this, a brand new venture for Golden Green. And it's sizzling, salty, and porkish.
It's something that can be made to replace like chicken
I know
or
what we're doing.
even
We're doing
like
bacon.
And this is not the bacon.
Maya refuses to call it bacon, but it's pretty much bacon, and it might even be good.
I mean, that's delicious. It's got all the like nice, salty, fatty kind of feel to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this a lot.
And now, thanks to a brave volunteer from Golden Green, a better living through Finland interlude that will come as quite the shock to my American friends. I present to you a baby, a mother, and a baby box.
This is something that the government sends to every mother?
Yes, or you can like choose. You maybe don't want this and you can take the money. So it's 170 euros.
The box, is this meant to be like a crib?
Yes, it is like a safe and comfy place to sleep. But also in this box there's 63 items.
Okay. You
So
get a
there's
book,
like the first baby book,
and you get all these clothes?
all the clothes. In Finland it is quite common that you leave the child outside to take a nap.
Okay.
So that's why we need a lot of clothes. So the baby's warm.
They sleep outside?
Yes.
That's all seasons or just when it's warm?
Also the winter time.
Why do they sleep outside?
I think it's good for you.
How much maternity leave do you get in Finland?
9 months. So in the box there's also the hygiene things. It is for the baby and also for adults.
You get like a
There's
thermometer and a
the
brush.
reader.
Oh, I think, are these
Yeah,
condoms?
Yes, yeah,
Man, you guys think of everything.
yes.
I think I know what that
Yes.
is. Okay, cool.
One day the American dream will also include state-provided lube. Right? Right? By now, you're probably thinking, these Finns are godless, vegan socialists who have an unnatural amount of concern for nature and general well-being. This is probably even true. They also have a thing for relaxing in the glorious outdoors, like this open-air oasis on Helsinki's waterfront. I give to you the Alice Pools. Steamed to perfection and refreshed and frozen by the Baltic Sea, I return to the mean streets of Helsinki to find out the other ways in which the Finns are better than the rest of us. which brought me here to a startup and Suvi Jaime. She is the co-founder and CEO of Supercell, and they want to replace plastic with this.
What is important in our material, it's microplastic free. Eventually, plastic degrades into microplastic particles, and they stay hundreds of years or even permanently in the nature. But we have created almost all the benefits of plastic without the plastic waste problem.
The big idea here is to take waste wood, mash it up with some plant matter, and create a substance that can be molded into all kinds of things from straws to containers to coat hangers. Then when you're done with the objects, you ditch them, and they gracefully turn back into plant matter.
We make our materials out of wood and natural binders, and these plant-based binders, they degrade, so they can be eaten by naturally occurring microorganisms.
Okay.
So no microplastics left.
Supercell has pulled in some big-name investors, including Chanel, and has started making its products in factories all over the world. Here are their straws coming to life in a factory in St. Louis. And unlike paper straws, these wooden things actually work.
So with the straw, how long would this last compared, like a paper straw, when I put it in a drink, I mean,
Exactly.
It's usually melted by the end of the drink.
Well, the criteria is that if you change the drink, you have to be able to use this one straw. So
Okay.
the whole evening you're able to drink mojitos, for instance, which is my favorite
Yeah.
drink, with this one straw. We need new initiatives to make these microplastic-free materials because there is so much plastic out there. With one company, with one material, you can't solve it all.
Of course, if experimental protein and plastic-induced shame is all too much for you, have no fear. The Finns still have you covered. Here at a traditional Finnish restaurant, a very nice set of ladies will set you up with Finnish gin, scrumptious reindeer mousse, a ski loaded with shots, and one hell of a bear pie. Well fed and well lubricated, I set out for Helsinki's Wooden House district. These beauties were built back in the early 1900s so that the workers of Finland could have nice places to live and nice gardens to tend. They're symbolic of Finland's famed social support system that has made Finns some of the happiest people on earth. Bless you, Finland, and your wheelbarrow gardens. Of course, progress often has its own plans. The workers here, for example, have been replaced by artsy hipsters seeking a trendy neighborhood. And soon enough, workers and hipsters all over the world might be replaced by robots that don't care about social systems or pretty gardens at all. Hello, robot overlords. Here at Helsinki's most scenic garbage dump are some hard-working robotic arms from a company called Zen Robotics. The Zen part obviously being some bizarre marketing ploy because there's nothing calming about these things. Their mission is to divvy up industrial trash, sorting things like wood and metal into their own piles.
How do you get the robot to see, that it's not wood, that it's a piece of steel, a plastic bag?
Okay.
All this stuff is so amorphous and different.
We use cameras, we use metal detectors, we use 3D sensors, and we use also near-infrared sensors. The AI is able then to predict, okay, what kind of material. We try to understand how is a human operator sorting waste, and he is not picking it and putting it here, it picks and throws.
Yeah.
And we simulated the same movement, so our robot opens the gripper and lets the object fly.
And what do we know about how accurate the robots are?
depending on the different kind of ways, we can go to a purity up to 90%.
Can we go take a closer look
Yes,
at the
for sure.
robots? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
let's do.
So the waste comes up, it goes on this conveyor belt, and then this is where it's getting scanned.
Yes.
And then in this moment where it's getting scanned, it's telling the robots down the line, there's gonna be an object coming that I want you to grab.
Yes.
And then the arms start to go to work.
Yes. The robot gets to pick which waste and to throw it in which bin.
I mean, it does a really good job to me of picking up these objects that are such different sizes.
Yeah. You can believe that there are many man-hours invested to really develop a gripper what is able to grip total different kind of sizes, shapes, and weights.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest challenges.
Zen Robotics recently put its robots to work right here in the heart of Silicon Valley, at this massive garbage processing facility in San Jose. Artificial intelligence and trash commingling in harmony, just the way nature intended. Back in Finland, I took a drive from the dump to Espoo. It's a city about 25 minutes outside of Helsinki that is something of a tech suburb. Nokia's once glorious headquarters are here, and so too are its more sedate current headquarters. And the Angry Birds are here too. But I have not come to Espoo for disgruntled birds or airborne pigs. I have come to see some satellites. This is the headquarters of ICEYE. It's one of a handful of startups that have built small satellites that take constant pictures of what's happening on Earth. How many satellites have you guys put up today?
The commercial constellation that we operate right now is 3 satellites.
3 satellites. And then your satellites, they're mini fridge, maybe size.
It's the famous mini fridge, yeah.
And then you also want to try and surround the Earth with dozens, hundreds of these things.
Right, yeah. So we really want to make the system that allows you to sort of reliably and accurately and sort of objectively see everything at all times. It's almost like, you know, having a sort of a MRI scan for the Earth.
ICEYE satellites travel from pole to pole every 45 minutes. Rather than cameras, their 3 small sats use something called synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, to pound the Earth with microwave signals from low Earth orbit. They then use signals that are reflected back from the Earth to build images of the surface. Unlike cameras, SAR can see through the cloudiest of days and the darkest of nights. ICEYE combined this radar technology with advanced image processing and computer vision software to create highly detailed pictures.
Can we peek at some of these images and walk through kind of what you guys do?
So this was an example of the Hurricane Dorian in Bahamas. We were able to image this exactly when the hurricane was on top of the island. This is the island as it normally is, and then in the afterwards, the land border used to be here. And I think here the sort of really dramatic thing is that all of these red dots are, you know, buildings, you know, fully submerged. This is exactly, you know, what becomes sort of insurance information.
Yeah, so you have proof that all this stuff flooded and...
And then proof is one thing, and then of course, you know, just ability to react. That like now, you know, what if you could trigger the payment to these guys automatically, so that like the people get to rebuild their lives and so forth.
Much more quickly, yeah.
Now here we're looking at the large tanker, the Grace 1. It relates to the sanctions to Iran. It became this big story when it was impounded in Gibraltar when it was said that it was headed towards Syria with a tank full of Iranian oil. This is an image from a while back where we're able to see the Grace 1 ship here in the Iranian shores in January.
So maybe the U.S. knows where this tanker is, the NSA knows, the CIA, and they can choose to make public what they want. But basically with you guys, I mean, there's a democratization to all this where anyone who's willing to pay for your imagery, you know, it's not just in the hands of these few governments now. It's like everybody can know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, part of the big story here. In the case of this tanker, like what was really interesting is, well, was it full or was it not full? How full was it? And so forth.
If it's full of oil, it's down in the water and you're getting something on, just the depth from like a shadow off the water or something like that.
Yeah, exactly like this. And this is a mine. It's an open pit mine. So, you know, this is like the more mundane use case here is just that you monitor the progress of the mining activity. But of course, you know, the safety of, is there some displacement that is, you know, likely to cause landslides, or is there some underground mining that is likely to cause collapses?
When it started in 2014, ICEYE was the very first company to build a commercial satellite in Finland. Since then, it's raised more than $65 million from investors and plans to launch a constellation of 18 small satellites in the next couple of years.
Right now, we're sort of fully booked with customers. So there would be some governments, there would be some insurance, some finance.
I mean, there's like a ton of positive use cases to all this stuff. I do think some people, though, would be creeped out a bit, right, about this all-seeing eye that is keeping track of what people are doing.
I think, you know, as far as sort of like the sort of creepiness on a sort of personal level, I think a lot of the sort of mobile phones, you know, internet, you know, sort of Google type services, like they tend to track you to much higher precision than we ever. So like, you know, we would never really be in the business of identifying humans. Like, you know, we don't image faces, or like the resolution is way lower than that. For us, it's about objectivity, of being able to provide as neutral source of information as possible.
AI robots and super fancy satellites are all well and good. Probably. But no visit to Finland would be complete without exploring its oldest and most famous tech, the sauna. Or as they say it here, the sauna. And since Finland is a tiny place full of accommodating people, I was able to find not just a sauna, but the sauna. And not just any sauna companion, but the sauna companion. Finland's most famous actor, Jesper Paakkonen. Along with having an outstanding six-pack, Jesper owns this beauty. He joined me at about 11 p.m. to teach me the art of the sauna and what it means to the Finnish people.
When you walk into a sauna, you're stripped down from your clothes, you're stripped down from all the titles, your wealth. You leave your wallet outside, and it's just a bunch of people at their most bare state of being. And it's really hard to not be honest when you're so exposed and so bare.
Yeah. So this is a pretty common thing, is to come here and hash things out.
Yeah. Sauna is the only word from Finnish language to travel to other languages as a common word to use. And saunas are more common in Finland. It's more common to own a sauna than it is to own a car.
Okay.
Which means every single person has a sauna.
Yeah. Everybody has these saunas, but the ones here are very traditional. And what is the classic Finnish sauna?
The real sauna would always be a wood-heated sauna, because the burning of the wood gives the sauna this very distinct flavor, or this löyly.
Okay.
Löyly, the word means like the spirit of the sauna, and the feel when you throw water onto the sauna heater's rocks. That's löyly. And you just get much better löyly when you heat it with wood.
Löyly.
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 Perhaps unimpressed by my grasp of the Finnish language, Jasper decided it was a good idea to complete the sauna experience by subjecting me to a ritualized form of icy torture.
We just lower ourselves down to our necks, and then we take a few deep, kind of just easy breaths.
Okay.
Try not to hyperventilate.
Okay. Oh. Okay. Takes a second to settle it. I feel good.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay, that's refreshing. All right, man.
Let's see, now you start feeling this tingling,
I'm definitely
warmth.
able to breathe now.
Yeah.
So that's
And you don't
positive.
feel cold, right?
No, I feel good actually, yes.
Once you do it a few times, first you get used to it.
Yeah.
And then you get addicted to it.
So how many times would you do that during the course of a sauna session?
I usually do it 4 times back and forth.
Okay.
So sauna, swim, and then you end it with the swim. I often say that sauna is like the church for a normal, average Finn. If he or she goes to the sauna, you're in silence and you sweat out the daily sorrows, both mentally and physically. And there's something church-like.
Sadly, I think our version is like football game or something.